Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul Channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance for you, Hashem, and to some people I thank have inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well, and we'll have links below to their sites here: Rabbi Shalom Arish, Rabbi Lisa Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Lon Anavar, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rabbi Daniel Asser, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobak, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Ashir, Rabbi Ron Ruvain, and Rabbi Yosef Chesney. As well, if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link below to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the Soul means, what it stands for, what I'm doing. So just as an aside, last week a video was not posted. BeEzrat Hashem, I hope I could figure out, and Hashem should help me figure it out, and clear up why I was not able to publish the video. Some weird things have been materializing, but I think it might be the Yitzhar trying to prevent me, but I'm going to try to work my hardest to overcome that. So hopefully this video will get posted, but it may be posted a little on a different day than I usually do, because I want to try to get that one as well. But BeEzrat Hashem, I'm going to hope and pray that it will all get resolved. So so now getting back to this, and this is from the Tiferes Yosef by Rabbi Yosef Chesney, and I call this All Depends on Our Mindset. And this is related to Parashat Bo, which is the upcoming parasha, so hopefully it'll get posted before then. So Rabbi Yeruchem Olshin Shlita recently related a story that he heard from Rabbi Shalom Mordechai Rubashkin. There was one day at the beginning of his term that was particularly hot, and a term meaning he was actually in jail. If you don't know the story about him, you can look that up. In an attempt to cool himself off, he turned to the inmate standing next to him, who was situated next to the water fountain, and asked him for a cup of water. The convict turned to him and began shouting, "How dare you ask me for a drink?" Rubashkin politely apologized for his misdemeanor and got himself a drink. That night, this inmate privately approached Rubashkin and told him, "Over here, I am the boss. Nobody asked me to do anything for them. Your request really degraded me." Once again, he apologized. The man replied, "Rubashkin, you are not here. You are busy all day with your books. You are in a different world. You are not here in the prison." Rav Shalom Mordechai, who was still in prison when he related this tale, concluded by saying, "He is right, I am not here. If I would be here, I would be unable to survive one day. My key to survival is that I am not here." This is a lesson for us. How are we to survive this long and difficult galus intact? Our purpose of being here is to not be here. We see this lesson many times in Galus Mitzrayim. During Makas Choshech, which is the plague of darkness, all the Rishayim perished, which is the wicked people. What was their sin? The Medrash relates it is because they did not want to leave Mitzrayim. They were so entrenched in this Egyptian culture and values that they were not worthy of being redeemed. And that's also talking about Rishayim. I think they're relating to that. That's actually, they were Jewish people that were, or they weren't called Jews then. I don't think they were called Jews then. Ivrim, I don't know what they called them then, were actually killed as well, because that's what I'm saying. They got so involved that they became part of their life. So the Levium weren't enslaved. Why were they spared from this difficult situation? It's because they weren't there. They never mingled into the Egyptian culture. They remained separate. So Avram was told about Galus Mitzrayim. Galus is the exile. Your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. It is interesting to note that this prophecy was fulfilled on many different levels. The 400 years began by the birth of Yitzhak. He wasn't in Mitzrayim at all. Yaakov and all his children went to Mitzrayim. They were treated as royalty. Yet this time period is considered part of the fulfillment of the prophecy of exile. Later they were considered equal citizens. At a later time they were enslaved. What was needed for this prophecy to be fulfilled? Why in every generation was it fulfilled on a different level? So Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky explains, it is all dependent on our mindset. We have to feel as if we are foreigners. We have to realize that we do not share the same culture as our host nation. We have different ambitions and a different value system. Whatever it takes to come to this realization is what we need to endure in Galus. So Yitzhak, being an immigrant child, was able to come to this realization without being exiled. The next generation already felt at home, thus they needed to move. So that was the problem right there. So the first generation that came to Mitzrayim, although they were treated as royalty, felt out of place. They knew that they were not at home. The next generation needed to lose that status to feel the exile. With time they got used to it, and a healthy dose of anti-Semitism was needed to remind them that they are in Galus. So that's, I think, actually a good thing. I'm just saying this myself, that if we blend in enough and we become part of society, then we're not separate anymore, then we lose everything, our status of who we are, and we probably would lose the whole Jewish nation would never be existing anymore. So anyway, and I think I read that somewhere too. So Shevet Levi did not lose their focus, thus they did not need this reminder. This same rule applies to us. When we forget that we are in Galus, and we start feeling at home and assimilating into the culture of our hosting country, Hashem sends us a reminder that we are still in exile. In the period before Mashiach, we are told there will be a lot of suffering. It is referred to as the birth pangs of Mashiach, or chevle is the other word. Just like there are great pains when it comes time to remove a baby from his mother's womb, so too it is painful to remove us from the midst of the exile. The Gemara says, what should one do to be saved from the birth pangs of Mashiach? He should involve himself in chesed, which is kindness, and in Torah study. Why is this the merit needed to be saved from this turbulent time? The answer is, a person whose life is devoted to Torah and to chesed is not here in exile. He is living in a transcendent world, thus he does not need these birth pains to remove him from the exile, because he's not really connected. And I try to stay disconnected too, as much as possible. It's not so easy though, but anyway. So Chazal says that we were only redeemed in the merit that we did not change our names, language, and dress. Through these things, we were able to preserve our own identity and not disappear into the melting pot. In our generation, we don't see an emphasis on these three things, yet we are able to keep our identity. Why is this? And my aside note, even though after Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zatzal, who is, I can never compare to him, I would say that we still need those things, although people are not doing that. So Rav Moshe Feinstein explains Galus Mitzrayim was before Matan Torah. That's when we received the Torah. At that time, the only way to preserve our culture was through these external differences. Now that we have the Torah, we do not need these tools, but I beg to differ, because when we do change those things start to unravel, unfortunately. I've seen it so many times with people that I know that in a million years I'd never think that would happen to them. So anyway, sad to say. So your name can be Mike, you can wear a polo shirt and talk only English, but if you're devoted to Torah study, you will automatically be part of a higher culture. Again, I still think that there should be certain manners of dress and speaking and names as well. I think it's still important. So Torah is what preserves our identity. Through Torah we can remove ourselves from Galus. I would like to conclude, again, this is Rabbi Yosef Chesney saying this, not me, with the following personal account of Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky. There are many lessons to be learned from our everyday encounters. When I was a bacher, which means a young boy in Poland, I was one time on a train. Sitting across from me was a wealthy individual who had a pair of headphones over his ears. During the course of the ride, someone from the next car began to play his harmonica and held an impromptu concert. Naturally, all the people from the neighboring cars gravitated to that car to enjoy the music. All that is besides for me and my neighbor. After a few minutes, the ticket agent entered our car and exclaimed, "What are you doing here? Why don't you go hear the harmonica player?" Removing the headphones from his ears, the fellow sitting across from me explained, "I am in the middle of listening to the Paris Symphony Orchestra. Why should I stop to go to listen to an amateur harmonica player?" I went back to yeshiva, and related the lesson I had learned. Everyone is tuned into the song of this world. We are listening to the orchestra of the coming world. Should we remove our headphones to listen to an amateur harmonica player? So Klal Yisrael possesses a culture that is rich. It has worthy ambitions and an admirable value system. We are connected to Hashem and to the world to come. The world around us attempts to swallow us into their culture. We have to focus on tuning out the entire world and instead tune into a higher frequency. And yes, we do need to do that, and I hope that we will all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beit HaMikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.